is someone not being heard? It may be time to allocate resources differently from office space. The biggest group that was impacted were caregivers, so let's continue with flexibility. We may have off-site visits 3 to 4 times a year rather than expensive office space. Maybe your business completely pivoted last year. Brian sure did. He does events. Your favorite bartender. He started selling hand sanitizer, right, Brian? He's not in the room. Thank you for running the desk. You're amazing. But it's time to reevaluate your skills and think about your ability. Is it really serving you? But most of all, remember, in the words of Brene Brown, I don't know why I'm still holding this hand sanitizer, but in the words of Brene Brown, we are still in beta. We will have uncomfortable moments on Zoom. When I prepared this, I said, I hope it's not today, but we might forget to mute, we might have kids run in the room, and instead of apologizing, let's just collectively come together and rejoice in the weirdness of it all. So thank you for doing that with me already this morning. Thanks. You're good. You don't have to clap. My team wanted me to share some updates about the chamber, plus they probably want me to get on with the show and you want to listen to other speaker besides myself. So the Utah LGBTQ plus chamber is the chamber for everybody. Or if you noticed our sign last year, it said Everbody, E-V-E-R, so that's a running joke with the chamber. We're currently at 163 members and have 21 new members in 2021. So, wow, I just realized 21. I just fixed that this morning. Isn't that ironic? Cool. Anyway, welcome to you all. I know some of you in the room are not members, but I know after today you'll see the brilliance of our chamber and you will have the ability to join. Just meet one of our board members. We should have name tags on. So we have a variety of options that makes us truly the chamber for everyone. Whether you're straight, queer, questioning, joining our family is the best investment for your business to show solidarity, acceptance, and you might get a client or two. Our members are startup shops, mom and mom, pop and pop, to big corporations, but we let the big corporations underwrite those small business owners. So you can join for as low as $15 a month, and some of our corporate partners are up to $50,000 a year. A quick shout out to our corporate partners, and if I could really run this, I would put them on the screen right now, but you see them as we go. Zions Bank, Twist Bistro and Bar, IHC, Purple, Comcast, Celtic Bank, and Duvin Pintor. Thank you so much. And here's a huge list of sponsors for today's event. I'm so happy that our team was able to secure the money and the ability to do this today. So thank you so much to Century West Insurance, Equality Utah, Utah Microloan Fund, Ogilvy Law, Charisma Events, Insperity, D and Corey Productions, Case Construction, Three Peaks Training, DJ Polly, Salt Lake Office of Regional Development, the ICAP program, Van Garrett Media. I know you're online. I don't know where the camera is. Hi. Is that the camera? Is that who I'm saying? Hi. Hello, online people. Sorry, okay. Your favorite bartender, Tracy Dean Financial, Rebirth OBGYN, Image Studios, Pressman Auto, Matthew Landis Business Coaching, Karis, and to our media sponsors, Broadway Media, B98.7, ABC4, and Q Salt Lake. Did anyone see the media or hear the media interviews that Brian and Liz did? It was hilarious. Just joking. It was fun. We have a number of upcoming events we wanted to share with you today. If you're part of a for-profit corporation with a Pride Employee Resource Group, Join us for a volunteer service project opportunity, Helping Project Rainbow. That is on October 15th. Our signature third Thursday breakfast is the third Thursday of every month. I went to go like that, but it doesn't work. In the South Salt Lake Co-op Center. Next one is October 21st. It's bright and early at 7:30 a.m. And if you don't like 7:30 a.m. or would prefer Zoom, like our Zoom people might, we do have our Taste of Success, which is happening in the afternoon at noon on Zoom, Friday, November 12th. And in collaboration with Live in Color Utah, we have set up already our year-end holiday party. So get this one on your calendar for sure. It is Saturday, the 4th of December at Duvin Pintor in Trolley Square. If you guys haven't been there yet, super cool space. As far as the schedule, that'll take us out to the end of the year, and you know you'll have a new chair next year because I'm going somewhere else. Just joking. I'll still be here to help with the chamber, but this is the end of my term. So we'll let someone else come in and lead and take the chamber to the new heights. We are looking for nominations, so if you feel that you have the opportunity to be a board member, nominations will come out in our newsletter next month. One of my visions for the chamber was to turn this volunteer position into a paid position, and we made it happen this year, just in the nick of time. We did post for a CEO and president position, and we have a couple of really good job applicants that we will be announcing in the next couple of weeks here, so watch for that. We are fortunate to have received some grants this year, thanks to our grant writer, Stephanie Rosenfeld, and Liz's expertise. We received money from Gamma Mu for our Safe Zone 501c3 foundation. We received money from Project Rainbow and from Salt Lake County in the form of the ICAP program. They have a booth, and you'll see Brooke, there's Brooke from the county, and as well as you may recognize Hillary McDaniel is on our team as facilitators. And what the ICAP program does is it helps business owners get back on their feet from COVID. So go and visit them. They're having a webinar next week. It helps small business owners. It's free. It's amazing. I've been on calls with Liz and Hillary, and you should do it for your business. Also, please send some good vibes to the SBA. We should have heard about a real life-changing grant that the chamber should be receiving, but that will come, I guess, mid-October. So just put your good feelers up to the SBA for that grant. We are an affiliate member of the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, the NGLCC, and they are the certifying body of LGBTBE. I know how to say that now because it's been 4 years. LGBTBE. That means LGBT business enterprise. I'm one, so I should know. And that is if you're 51% or greater owned LGBT, you have the opportunity, and the perks of your membership with the Utah Chamber is the application and renewal fees are waived. So get certified and you can get large contracts with Fortune 500 companies and some great opportunities with the LGBTBE status. Lastly, we are so excited that we are relaunching our 501c3 Safe Zone program, our foundation board, and we know there's a lot of meaningful work that needs to be done in the community. Safe Zone started with a grant from Salt Lake City Corporation to focus on these four issues: suicide awareness, domestic violence, homelessness, and bullying, specifically as it identifies or it applies to the business community. So we're excited to announce, many of you are in the room or on Zoom, the following new members of our board. Jess Burns, you can stand. Jess is just waving. Nate Alexander, Nick Artiega, Woo! Thanks for standing. Joe Turpin, I believe, is online. Dylan Walker Pecorano. So welcome to all of you to the board. I know you guys have already been around to the exhibitor tables, but please make sure during breaks and then afterwards you say hello to them. It is, of course, the Chamber, D. and Corey Productions, Equality Utah, Project Rainbow, Intermountain Health, Select Health, Your Favorite Bartender, the ICAP program, Insperity, and Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Tracy.
Additionally, we hope that you can stay afterwards for our after networking. The bar might start right at 4 instead of 4:30. Thank you, Liz, for making that happen. Anyway, we have DJ Polly that's going to serve as entertainment. We'll probably have some really bad dancing, networking, and a cash bar. So that'll be, I guess now, 4 to 6:30 p.m. tonight. So, Liz, do I have more time or should I stop talking? I have 1 minute, but the next stuff is like Tony Robbins. She's gonna ruin my whole speech. Who's been to a Tony Robbins event, either virtually or in person? Say yes. Yes? Yes? She's seen it on YouTube. Okay. I might be a little bit of a fan. I'm going to go through a couple of things with you really quick, and then we're going to get this party started. You ready? Ultimate Success Program from Tony Robbins. This is 2 minutes. It's really more like, in my speech last night, I had like 10. So whatever. Know your desired outcome. What do you want out of this situation? What do you want out today? Do you want to meet 2 new people? Do you want to say hello to someone that you don't know yet? Do you want to add new customers? Just I encourage you to write it down for Q4 2021. What do you want out of your business, or out of today, or out of your relationship? Number 2 is take massive action. Use that action towards the achievement of goals. I love this quote. The road to someday leads to a town called nowhere. So you get yourself to take action. And we do that by using role modeling to accelerate our growth. And today we have chock full of presenters and exhibitors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, doctors that can do just that for us. So listen to them and you'll get to meet your goal. Remember, the greatest successes are made from failures. I have a little post-it note in my bag I was supposed to have right now, but y'all know post-it notes, right? The inventor was, I don't know if you guys know this, the inventor was attempting to make something that would not be removed, would be permanent. It was a failure, right? Well, it was $1 billion failure, so thank you. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day, making a living, doing all the things. Although I know, because you guys are here today, that you are designing your own life. And lastly, in order to learn and retain knowledge, Coach Nat, what do they need to do? I swear this is my most exciting part of today, what you're going to do. But it is to be in a peak state. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, and it gets like really annoying, and you have to say yes, yes, and you have to move around. Okay, well today you don't have to say yes, yes, but we are going to have you move around. Because what a peak state is to help you to retain everything that you've been hearing, and it helps you keep awake, other than coffee, that helps too. But I'm so excited to have Coach Nat see my vision for today, and it is my honor to introduce Natalie Sheffield to help us get this party started. Hi. Move the mic closer. Oh, you need this one too.
I do.
Yeah, okay. I would like to introduce Natalie. Natalie, or Coach Nat, she, her, is the owner of 3 Peaks Training. She is a running and strength coach who works with mountain endurance athletes of all levels to help them reach their peak performance. I changed her bio. Don't worry, couch potatoes with a dream. She also works with non-athletes to help them reach their fitness goals. She offers specialty do-it-at-your-own-pace strength programs for trail runners and backpackers that suit the busy athlete who just needs a little kickstart to begin, as well as the traditional in-person training. Thank you, 2021. She also does remote training. We are excited to welcome Natalie, and you'll see her throughout the day get you engaged for peak state, for ultimate enjoyment. Today, welcome Coach Nat.
Yay. Thank you, Tracy, for that amazing introduction. You can help me up here.
We're just going to be a little awkward.
Here, hold it. Oh, yeah. I'll hold this.
Hey Zoom, how's the Zoom people doing? I forgot I was supposed to say hi to you more often. I guess you need this.
I do.
You got it.
Thank you, Tracy. Who here has ever caught themselves daydreaming or feeling distracted during a meeting? Raise your hand. Whew. I'm glad you all raised your hand. I thought I was going to be the only one doing that today. Movement and breath play a very critical role when it comes to staying present and engaged throughout the day. When we intentionally breathe and move our bodies, this places our nervous system into a very calm and receptive state of mind. And this is the exact state of mind we all need to be in, especially today when we have wonderful speakers giving us very valuable information. I'm here today to keep you all engaged and to also give you some tools to take back to your next meeting. So we're going to start the morning off with a simple breathing meditation. After lunch, we're going to go through some stretching. And then in the afternoon, we are going to move our bodies to some music. So let me get my music here. We're going to start our meditation. Sorry guys, it's a little awkward here. Okay, I want you to sit tall in your chairs, hands in your lap, and I want your eyes to remain closed during this entire practice. And when I ask you to breathe, I want you to breathe in through your nose and breathe out through the mouth. So let's go ahead and practice this a couple times. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time, breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to go ahead and return to your normal breath. And I want you to use the next few moments to turn your attention towards your body and notice any sensations that you feel. For example, do you feel excited, happy, nervous, or tired? Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. I want you to use these next few moments and set your intentions for the day. If you've never set an intention, it's basically just stating to yourself that I intend to do something. For example, I intend to be here and engaged with you all today. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And when you're ready, I want you all to open your eyes, and I want you to turn your attention to the room. I think the sharks are really calm right now. Breathe in and breathe out. thank you all for meditating with me today. And I will see you after lunch, I think, for the stretching. It might be before lunch. So I will hand this time over to the next speaker. Thank you.
I was out of the room for the breathing. Can we
It's all
do that
good.
again?
Sure.
I really need the breathing.
Sure, I can say it another time for the 50 millionth time for the last 2 months.
Thanks. All right. You just have to do this little switcheroo. I'm gonna put that in my pocket. Thank you. What do you guys think? You felt like you were in Tony Robbins' room? Okay, cool. Our first speaker needs no introduction for some of you. Dr. Rixt Luikenaar, they, them, is an MD, FACOG, is the board certified OBGYN at Rebirth OBGYN in Salt Lake City. They have been providing exceptional OBGYN care for more than 15 years locally and abroad, and take a holistic approach to care, treating the whole person, not only the body part, disease, or symptom. Dr. Luikenaar has a special interest in transgender hormone therapy and LGBTQ healthcare, including pregnancy and preventative care. Dr. Luikenaar received their medical degree from the University of Groningen, saying that wrong, Medical Sciences in Groningen, the Netherlands.
Groningen.
Oh, Groningen, the Netherlands. They went on to continue their residency training at West Virginia University Hospital in Morgantown, West Virginia. Committed to equality and diversity, Dr. Luikenaar provides compassionate care to all, including the underserved and underinsured. They are also a professional member of the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association and the World Professional Organization for Transgender Health. Rebirth OBGYN is a certified LGBTBE. Take it away. But I have to give you the...
Thank you. Do I have slides? Do I have slides?
Right there.
Oh,
That's what-
I was getting ready to ask.
Doing it the old-fashioned way?
Then I won't need all of it. All right.
Here's your mic for Zoom.
Okay. Actually, just, okay. What does this go in here?
Just need to put it close to you. There you go.
All right. Okay, and how do I go through the slides? Put this in here. It's not the first time I talk, but all right. There. That'll work.
Perfect.
Okay.
Slides.
Slides. All right. Good. Awesome. Thank you. So how do I go to the next slide? I just. Sorry, I'm used to a Mac. It's not a touch screen either, right?
So
Just enter.
do the...
Okay. All right. I'm over 50, guys. This is what happens. So yes, my name is Rixt Luikenaar. I'm a white, genderqueer, neurodivergent, aging physician, also immigrant from the Netherlands. And my pronouns are they and them. I run OBGYN practice here in Salt Lake City, and 80% of our practice consists of transgender, including gender non-binary folks, and other LGBTQ folks that want to come and have care from us. I also wanted to remember everybody that September is International Suicide Prevention Month, and that Lila Alcorn said it right when she passed after suicide by saying, hey, we are transgender, we are people, and we deserve human rights, and I believe belonging should be a basic human right. So one nice new thing is Generation Z. So these are people born after 1997, and that's one of the largest patient community I now see in my clinic. They identify 6 more times likely as any other generation as LGBTQ. And also that number of LGBTQ people now in the United States is up to 6%. And we now have over 1 million non-binary folks in the United States, which I think is really awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about discrimination and trans exclusion at the workplace, a little bit about transgender and definitions, the pillars of transition, what does it mean, what is a transition or a gender transition, the inclusion, why should we include trans people on the job, and then how can we do that? And then, of course, I'm really glad I have this slide deck, because throughout this slide deck I have resources. So I have books, I have articles, and links that y'all can look up later. I also have some books on my desk. I thought I had to present this without slides, so I was going to show you some of the books that I brought, but they will all be in the slide desk, so that will be good information. So, discrimination at work for transgender people happens a lot. I hear it all the time. I hear it every day at my clinic. Just in the last 3 months, I had a patient who was sexually assaulted in the car by a coworker at work, and works for a company that is registered as an LGBT positive company within the Human Rights Campaign Equality List, but still the patient was sexually assaulted and was afraid to talk. So she came to my clinic for STD screening and hadn't talked to anybody about this. So I actually ended up calling corporate office and tried to ask a bit more information about what they would do, but she wouldn't disclose, so I didn't want to pass on her name, so we had to stay confident. I had another patient who was actually physically assaulted by a passenger at work and was so distraught and had to go to the hospital and is still sitting at home with PTSD and social anxiety. She's afraid to leave her house. And then another patient, a law enforcement officer who had a 20-year great record here with local law enforcement, came out at work and within a week saw 10 complaints filed against her about things she supposedly would have done that she didn't. So now she's also sitting at home with a lawyer trying to fight for her rights to continue working. And these are just examples that I hear on a daily basis. Also in this slide, you probably can tell people of color are discriminated even more often. So ability to be promoted, to be hired, and to retain work is difficult. Also a word on discrimination in healthcare. Unfortunately, this happens all the time, and it still happens. We at our practice fight for this every day because we treat people, and a lot of the times when you're trying to get insurances to pay for body part associated tests and treatments like pap smears and IUD insertions and birth control and hysterectomies and prostate checks and mammograms, these are often not covered, or we have a hard time getting them covered because an insurance company says, well, you can't do that for a man, or whatever reason they try to deny the claim for. And then also people sometimes will not cover any transition-related care. For example, there are 2 companies here in Utah that state that they're not having to keep to the Affordable Care Act, so why would they cover transition-related health care? So when a chart comes through from my clinic to their business, they screen it for the word transgender or any transgender-related care, and if they see it, they'll deny the claim. And they admit that that's what they do. So we're not there yet. There was a transgender survey in 2015, also in 2011, but 2015 is the most recent one. And it was nationwide. It was more than about 28,000 people. And this particular slide was done for the people here in Utah. And as you can see, people were unemployed, they were living in poverty, they were homeless, they were discriminated in their job, they lost their job, and they also had a hard time getting insurance. And they were also harassed and attacked at work. So these are nice slides to keep because these are particular percentages for y'all to look at later. The National Transgender Survey globally, if you just kind of look at what people were or were not having, if you just look at the suicide rate, at people who are afraid of doctors and people who had negative healthcare experience and people who are afraid to just go to the bathroom and people who did not have family support, that's a large amount. That amount's way too high. So 77% of people, said that they were afraid to come out at work, or they'd rather leave their job than come out at work. So, which is sad. So, and workplace discrimination is forbidden. Like there's a law, in 2020 that I'll bring up here in a minute that says that we cannot discriminate against people being transgender or coming out at the job, but it still happens. And an employee has some measures, like what you could do if you deal with this. You could say, well, I'm going to go talk to HR, I'm going to go to Equal Employment Opportunity, we're going to file an internal complaint, or maybe an attorney for the business that I can go to, or you can file a charge of sex discrimination with the U.S. Equal Opportunity Committee, or then I'll file a lawsuit after that, or you can go to Equality Utah or ACLU, but honestly, there are not a lot of people that do this. There are also laws that protect trans people. Like I just said, in June of 2020, the Supreme Court of the U.S. affirmed LGBTQ workers are protected from discrimination under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 for a company of at least 15 employees. There are also state and local laws in some jurisdictions. State and local government employees are protected. Federal civilian employees have protection, and federal contractors do as well. And then the Affordable Care Act of March 2010, Title 1557, stated that people cannot be discriminated on the basis of their gender identity, and insurers cannot deny or limit coverage. So those are the laws that we have that do protect trans people. Well, what is transgender, or what is gender identity, and what is sexual orientation? I'm sure a lot of you know some of these definitions, but I don't always know what the public is that I talk for. I always say gender identity is who you go to bed as, and sexual orientation is who you go to bed with. So that's kind of in comparison. People sometimes mess it up a bit. And being transgender is that you just don't identify with who you were assigned at birth, and that can move around here and there. This kind of includes, it's an umbrella term, so it includes people that are gender expansive, non-binary, creative, genderqueer, gender diverse, gender bender, gender fluid. There's a lot of terminology for being non-binary, which is different from intersex. Intersex is just the anatomy at birth. It just doesn't quite seem the same as people assigned male or female at birth. So there's like a reproductive or a sexual anatomy issue, or a problem with receptors and enzymes. And if people don't, so when you want to affirm gender identity, that means you have your name, you have pronouns, you have your gender expression, and you want to have that respected. And if that is not respected, people are 8 times likely to attempt suicide. The word gender dysphoria is a little bit loaded. A lot of, in medicine, we use gender dysphoria for a lot of things. It's the ICD coding that we use nowadays. It's going to be going towards gender incongruence, which I think is a better word, because the word dysphoria means that you're unhappy with something. And a lot of people that that are transgender don't necessarily, they don't feel dysphoria about their body, honestly, not all body parts. So the word's a little bit loaded, and it's a bit medicalized. So the World Professional Association for Transgender Healthcare is an organization that was established in 2005. It formerly was called the International Association of Henry Benjamin's Gender Dysphoria, and it consists of a group of physicians that came together, and they made the standards of care. And these are guidelines for transition for transgender people, and guidelines for other physicians and medical workers to be able to help them with that. They're following the standards of care. They started with number 1. They're now up to number 7 that came out in 2011. And in this year, in December, they'll come out with the standards of care 2008. Now, these are not rules on what we're supposed to be doing for transgender people. They're just guidelines, and of course, everybody is different, so these are not strict to be followed. But they're good for people who are starting to do transgender healthcare. They're a good start to know kind of what's expected and what you can do for transgender people. Actually, WPATH has a certification system where you can become WPATH certified as a physician or medical provider. And I think it's a great certification process to do. And I feel personally that any person laying their hands on transgender people should be certified through WPATH. But that is my own personal opinion. If you transition, what does that mean? Well, it means many different things, because it's not the same for anybody, right? People can be socially out and just have a name and pronoun that they would like you to use, but they're not ever going to be in hormones. It could also be that they have had surgeries but don't ever want to be in hormones and cannot be out at the job that they're at. Sometimes people just take hormones and they don't ever want to do anything else. I do believe that the base of a transition has to be a support system. If people do not have a support system, it is really hard to transition. I mean, people try, but a lot of the times they give up or they go back in the closet. So the support system would be people that love and support you no matter what. So for some people, they're lucky, it's their parents. For other people, it's a peer system. It can be a therapist, it can be a good friend, it can be a neighbor, or it can be a group of internet friends for people. And then the kind of different ways of transition, I kind of all like divided up in social, mental, legal, medical, and surgical, and I'll go into them briefly. Your social transition just more or less means, okay, my name, my pronouns, my gender expression. Some people do, for example, want to feminize, do some voice training. Some people want to do some hair removal, facial hair removal. Some people have therapy, and peer support is also part of that. And a lot of people just stick with that. That's all they'll ever do. Although, like I just said, there are also people that cannot ever come socially out because of where they work. For example, I see patients who work for the church. They cannot take hormones, but they cannot come out at work. I also see law enforcement officers that have not been out and do not want to come out, but they still take hormones. And some of them have had surgeries, but they just cannot disclose, and they will not disclose. Legal transition in Utah is bound by court order, which means it's expensive. It costs at least $400. So for a lot of our patients, that is not very feasible, and they're kind of stuck with having their ID not match the names that they go by, and that causes all kinds of problems, especially in a job setting. It requires a letter from a therapist or from us to give to the judge, and it's actually pretty smooth process, since there was a Supreme Court case where some of the judges that were denying people's gender marker change were taken to court, and they were told they cannot deny people's gender markers. So I think now they're trying to come up with something else, but that's all still pending. You can now also have a legal gender marker X in Utah, which is pretty progressive. That doesn't happen in a lot of states. So that's way cool. A medical transition I can honestly talk about for hours, because that's the work I do every day, all day. I kind of split it up here in puberty blockers, hormone replacement therapy for people assigned male at birth, and hormone replacement therapy for people assigned female at birth. And that includes lots of non-binary ways of a medical transition. A medical transition means that we need to see people back in office and make sure that their body adjusts okay to the hormones they're taking, and that there are no side effects, that we check their vital signs, that we do blood tests, so you're kind of under the care of a doctor. Quick word on puberty blockers, because they've had some resistance in politics. Honestly, they're safe, they're reversible. They've been prescribed since the 1980s. We have data dating back 40, 50 years that confirm they're safe. They're used for people 10 to 16, when puberty starts, but I also use them for a lot of non-binary folks that are trying to kind of figure out where they choose to be. And then we're also using the same medications for endometriosis, prostate cancer, fibroids, and for kids that go through puberty too quick. As I said, these are totally irreversible, so they're not causing permanent changes. They're not causing infertility. So hormone therapy for people assigned male at birth, these consist of two pillars. So you have to block somebody's testosterone and give them female hormones, because female hormones are not potent enough to block the testosterone enough. Over time that will happen, but generally, if you look at the WPATH protocol, you block the testosterone, you add estrogens, and then the body feminizes. So one of the permanent changes from hormone therapy is breast growth, right? So breast growth happens. Once it happens, it's difficult to make it go away. The only way you can get rid of it is breast removal by surgeries. So these hormones are cheap, very cheap, but they have risks. So including, for example, blood clots or thrombosis. So these are, things again that are medically supervised. It's important that we ask a patient for their family history, and that if they do develop a family history, that we test them for blood clotting factors. If a person throws a blood clot and is on blood thinners, they can still transition. So it doesn't mean it's the end of transition. They just need to be medically supervised. One thing we do recommend prior to starting this type of hormone therapy is semen preservation, because this will affect fertility, especially long term. So we work with several fertility clinics here in Utah that are able to do that for our patients, and I think fertility is an important topic to discuss with patients, not just before starting hormones, but before surgeries, and also throughout the medical course of a transition. So masculinizing hormones, testosterone is very potent. It will block estrogen, more or less will take over from estrogen, and the body masculinizes, so it means your voice goes deeper, you eventually grow some facial hair, you eventually may go bald. You know, these are all things that people need to take in consideration. We do have lots of tricks to kind of help prevent some of the things that people don't want, especially for non-binary folks. There are a lot of ways to microdose testosterone and take a small dose of testosterone. I have a lot of patients that are on and off testosterone, or that do once a month a dose of testosterone. Like, it is hard to make a protocol for non-binary people, but for kind of a binary trans masculine person, there is a standard dose, and there are changes that go with that you would kind of expect over time. Period stop, you get upper body mass and body hair development, and just the typical features of a male. So also fertility is important to discuss here, although once a person has started their period, these hormones will not cause infertility. If you go start on testosterone and you used to have periods, your eggs are still good. They can be preserved. They can also be placed into a partner's uterus or a surrogate's uterus. So fertility for transmasculine people, also a very important topic, is still there, and is also an important topic of discussion when they seek medical care. Also, testosterone is not birth control, so sometimes people forget that and they unfortunately get pregnant unexpectedly. So it's important to tell people when they're taking testosterone that they could still get pregnant if they have sex with a penis haver. Okay. Surgical transition, about 25% of people in the United States has a gender affirming surgery, whatever that is. It's mostly for people that they choose to have top surgery, so either breast augmentation or mastectomy. Less so people seek bottom surgery. Bottom surgery is quite involved, it's expensive, it requires surgeons that know what they're doing. We fortunately have some here in Utah now. I have patients that go out of state or even out of country for these surgeries, and we provide a lot of post-operative care at the clinic as well. With a growing population, there will also be a need for qualified surgeons to be able to perform these surgeries. Let's see, how am I doing on time? Okay, all right. So for a surgical transition for people assigned male at birth, one of the surgeries is facial feminization surgery, take shaving, vocal cord surgery, breast augmentation, or bottom surgery in the form of orchiectomy. And here's actually a video. Let's see if we can get that up. So it's a video of how to do a vaginoplasty. And it's graphic, but it's animated, so it's not as gory. And we now have surgeons performing this surgery here in Utah. I learned for this procedure for a while. I have done about 15 of these cases in San Francisco. It's a beautiful surgery. The results are amazing and very functional. Some patients choose just to have an orchiectomy where we remove the testicles. I actually do that at my clinic with an in-house anesthesiologist to make the price go down. I've honestly had at least 5 patients trying to do their own orchiectomy, which is very dangerous. And that was more out of dysphoria and the fact that they didn't have money to pay for a surgeon to do the surgery. The numbers, of course, have increased since this video. And yeah, uterine transplants are coming in 5 or 10 years. So they're currently putting them in cisgender females, but they already know how they can implant them in transgender women. You would probably also transplant a vaginal canal from a cadaver and implant it in a transgender female, and then they would be able to carry a pregnancy and have a C-section and give birth. So you can choose to have a vaginal canal built or not. You can also create a vulva without the vaginal canal. That saves a lot of post-operative care and dilating. But the surgery looks really good. And I would say we had about 6 surgeons started to do these procedures. We have well over 100 surgeons now in the United States performing this procedure. For transmasculine people, most of them want top surgery. I would say 95% of people have a mastectomy. Some choose to have a hysterectomy. It's not required medically, but some would like to. And then some that want to proceed with other bottom surgery, they choose to have a metoidoplasty, which is a kind of a clitoral release, but you just extend the clitoris that way and it creates a micropenis, and sometimes you can lengthen the urethra through it and pee through it. A phalloplasty is actually taking part of the arm or leg or thigh and then adding it to the vulva and then creating a phallus that way. I have a video, but I think I probably should go on with, well, let's see, maybe I can put it up. No, it's not coming up. Let's see. So this is a picture of a mastectomy. So you can tell the binders make breasts very droopy and very prolonged. And it's also very painful to wear binders all the time. So with a mastectomy, they get rid of the breast tissue, but also the redundant skin, and then put the nipples a bit more lateral and create a more masculine chest. Here is a graphic picture of a phalloplasty. So this is part of the arm that's being used to create a phallus with sensation that then is attached up onto the labia, and you're able to urinate through it. It does not get erect by itself, so you still need to place a pump. So these are very expensive surgeries, and they require revisions. They have a lot of complications, and they're not for everybody. Okay, so how about trans inclusivity at work, right? So why would you want to include transgender people? Well, lately, especially with millennials in the workforce, people are demanding that companies are more socially responsible. So the corporate social responsibility is a business model where organizations distribute resources into activities related to environmental and social well-being, and three words: profit, people, and planet are important. So if you're looking at, what would happen if you discriminate people? Well, sometimes that ends up in the news and it actually hurts your reputation, right? So it plays a role in risk management for companies. Also, value creation, if you kind of look at including trans people and creating a more diverse workforce, it increases innovation and creativity, it boosts corporate image, reputation, and increases competitive advantage. So in that way, you could also look at it that way and say, hey, you know what, if I hire more trans or LGBT people in the workforce, as well as people of color, people from different backgrounds, then, that would do well for the company, and then more people want to come and join us, and, it would look good as far as for other people wanting to come work for you. So a couple of people that have written books and that have come out with some guidelines for employees on what to do for trans folks when they come out at the job. One of the people I really like is Lily Zhang. She's kind of an activist, writer, trans person who likes to critically write about what employment at the job should look like. So she states, look, let's stop the heterosexualism way of thinking and start becoming more broader, and make sure that we have diversity and inclusion everywhere in each company, become more familiar with LGBT issues, so do a lot about educating, build a community of interest, like for example, Wayfair has a lot, a large community where people reach out to one another, and people really want to work there because it's so fun, because there's so many LGBT people working there, and they really try to promote that. Also, talk about it, talk about diversity and inclusion, have a no-tolerance policy regarding discrimination of any kind. Be good at job interviews. Don't interview people by phone, because you don't know what their voice is going to look like when they have been on hormones, or if they are just starting a transition. Bring the people in and create guidelines for an interview. Be more inclusive, and also offer people opportunities for promotions, and base them on more standard guidelines, and not about professionalism or who do we like. Make sure that people's documentation is confidential. If a person hasn't yet changed their name and gender marker, don't have that information out there for others to see, because before you know it goes from one to the next, and then you've outed the person to everybody. Bathrooms are also dangerous. Make sure there's a bathroom available for people that are in transition, or that they know where they can go. The Human Rights Campaign has kind of more of a focus on, I would say, policies and documentations, like more in a larger way. So they say, look, you make sure there's information on the internet, make sure people can read and learn about transgender health. They're going to Google it and look it up, so make sure you have the right information there available for them. Print a code of conduct documents, make sure people know that they cannot discriminate, show equal employment opportunity policies, dress code and restroom policies, and just make sure that there is people for employees assistance programs and hotline resources for both trans people, but also employees with questions and concerns, and also if there are issues with coworkers. The Society for Human Resource Management has also come up with guidelines. They have a website, they're all on there. Again, it's the name for Amazon. If you interview with Amazon, you do an online interview, you show up, and the day you show up, there's a name badge there with name and pronouns. So that's something that you could do for a person right away. Make sure that healthcare is covered, benefits, plans, even maybe for partners and domestic partners. Also think about that when you want to have inclusive healthcare, and communicate to the organization, appearance, dress. Management and employee training, and make sure senior management also sends a strong message of support, because that can also set the tone. Then Jillian Wise is a civil rights attorney who came out with a book about 10, 15 years ago, and that book is still very valid nowadays. She has a blog, she has a website, there's some good information there. It's maybe just a little bit outdated, but her experience on the job as a person who's trans still resonates, and so the book is kind of written in that way. So it's like, well, find out who can help you when you come out, who will help you at a business, who do you go to, and what can you expect from management, and what do they expect from staff and from transitioning employees, and create a group of people that support and look at implementation of workplace, and make sure you have a plan before people come out, because otherwise you're already too late, right? So, and just also talk about dress code, restroom use, and educating a lot of people on the job. So kind of in conclusion, if you look kind of at things to do, have standard procedures for name, pronouns, and gender expression. That's the most important thing. You can even think about being gender neutral and have everybody write their name and pronouns, like for example on an email, on a badge, and make that something that is just a habit. That way, if people choose to, they can also join in and come out when they're ready. And that's the thing, don't out the employee, let them set their timeline. For example, some of my patients transition very slowly and they're not comfortable like doing this really fast. Sometimes they have partners that are not ready yet. So there are reasons why people are pretty slow in a transition, and not everybody wants to start hormones, have surgeries, have everything changed like within a year. Also make sure people have support at work. Find support person, support body, somebody maybe in management that could be the to-go-to person for that person. And offer inclusive benefits, so healthcare insurance, but then also insurance that covers surgeries, hormones, mental health, and fertility options, right? Fertility preservation, sperm banking, egg preservation, maybe even in vitro fertilization and surrogacy. Also offer training for all employees. So not just like training about transgender health, but also sensitivity training, and also make sure that all layers of your company get this training. So not just the bottom, but make it go all the way up to the top, and senior management should also be trained. Standard interview etiquette, so again, no interviews on the phone, give everybody the same options. Also for promotions, and hire trans people in leadership, or in management. So not just your, lower people in the job, but also look at hiring people all the way up to the top. That's what diversity is about. You want to hire them in all different sections, not just on the bottom. Think about unisex bathrooms, or if you don't have that, at least designated bathroom for people that don't have to choose between the men's and the women. Make them clean and make them available. So don't put them somewhere in a corner, but have them out there for people to know where they're at. And then also find discrimination solutions, or conflict solutions, right? Because that's going to happen, because there will be people that are not okay with trans people on the job. And do an exit interview. When a person leaves, call them up and ask them, hey, what could we do better next time? And then you can learn from that, and then next time you can do better. And also, if you have trans people on the job, make sure they're not the token person for the company. Make sure that they're not the people doing the education. There are many ways of asking even the T of Utah or the Utah Pride Center or many other organizations to come to your job and do sensitivity training, but that is not something that the trans person at your job should have to do. And also make sure people don't ask inappropriate questions to these people. That is something that you want to shield them from if you're a good employer. So this is the bathroom at my job, so we just have 2 fun bathrooms for people to go to. We honestly really don't care who goes there, especially not with our diversity of people that come there. but you could make it fun and create something unique and do something that people can stand behind. And then here's a book, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Trans But Were Afraid to Ask. So these are the things that you want to know that you don't want to ask a trans person. So it's a great book by Bryn Tannehill. Yeah, it just has all these things in there that you kind of are curious about and that Google may be able to tell you as well, but it's a really good book, I think, to have in HR, especially when you do D&I, inclusion like events. So other resources I have on this slide, the medical information at the UCSF Center for Action Transgender Health have a great website for medical information, and then the resources I've already given you about where to look for, hey, how are we going to implement changes at work? You have a couple websites now where you can do that. And then there's a couple other great books that you can read. I have some of them here, but these are books that you can buy, especially if you want to do D&I, work at your job. Some great articles to read. So yeah, I had to kind of do this in 35 minutes. So I can talk about this stuff for a long time, but I'm open to questions from any of y'all about anything in transgender business and health. Yeah.
What are the resources available for individuals who work at institutions or at colleges that claim religious exemption?
Can you repeat that? The last one?
Sorry. What are options for individuals who work at institutions or attend colleges that claim a religious exemption, especially when it comes to finding gender-affirming therapy or transitioning?
Well, you may have to go out, if they do not, if they're religious, if you mean BYU or places like that, for example, yeah, I mean, there are even resources there. I have patients who go there, right, that find counselors and people that are within the system that they can find, but it's kind of an underground movement. So finding I think there's an LGBT Alliance there that you can reach to and ask people about where to go for that. Or you may just have to go, into the community. Because there are LGBT-friendly therapists anywhere in Utah, and they're now via telehealth. Even telehealth companies like BetterHelp that started out, kind of because of COVID, have now people attending from here in Utah that are also LGBTQ inclusive and queer themselves. So there's a lot of resources. You can even send us an email, and we are happy to send you out some of our resources that we have. Okay.
Can we send out these slides, Rick?
Yeah, you can. I think it's a good kind of background to have, especially with all the pointers that I put on there. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, you're always happy to email me. Well, here, I should give you back this stuff.
Wow. That was amazing. Really good information. Thank you so much for taking your time today, Rixt. How do you guys feel? I'm going to be like Tony Robbins. No, just joking. We are going to have an unscheduled break for about 5 minutes. And exhibitors, if you're available to go to your exhibits, great. If not, just take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back here about 11:21 for our next speaker. Thanks, everyone.